Today's video is wild. We are talking about the gorgeous Olivia Hussey. She is causing quite the controversy as she is suing Paramount Pictures for shooting bare scenes with her and her co-star for Romeo and Juliet. She was 15 at the time and he was 16. She said the director tricked them into doing the scene and she has been traumatized since. But a lot of people aren't buying her claims. We are going to get into this crazy lawsuit and what it will mean for the future of teen actors in lovemaking scenes. But first, we'll get to know who Olivia is because many of you guys may not have heard of her before. We'll dissect her beauty regimen because she is a beauty icon, especially since her role as Juliet. We will also dissect her personality and a few fun facts, her childhood and illustrious career. But first, hey friend, welcome to my channel karinealourde, where we deep dive and break down the most iconic stars through history. If you're not yet subscribed, please be sure to do so, and if you're already subscribed, please turn on your notification bell so you never miss an upload. Now let's get into this video. Let's start first with a fun fact. Olivia has agoraphobia, which was aggravated by the fame she achieved after Romeo and Juliet. Agoraphobia is a mental and behavioral disorder, specifically an anxiety disorder, characterized by symptoms of anxiety in situations where the person perceives their environment to be unsafe with no easy way to escape. These situations can include open spaces, public transit, shopping centers, crowds, and queues, or simply being outside their home on their own. Being in these situations may result in a panic attack, and those affected will go to great lengths to avoid those situations. In severe cases, people may become completely unable to leave their homes, and I think that happened to her after the role of Juliet because, part of her was exposed and she just had a fear after that everybody that was looking at her already know kind of what she would look like without anything on, and she was still very young when that happened. So Now, in terms of beauty, she also told people that she never felt beautiful, saying, "I never felt beautiful. I felt fat and ugly all the time." She also suffered with bulimia during her teenage years. And after the success of Romeo and Juliet, she was happy, but it also brought on a weight gain that required diet pills morning and night, making her hyper and stressed out. The studio demanded she see a specialist for being plump or fat, something that had never bothered her before, but it did bother the studio, so then it started to bother her. She said, "I began to hate my body, and this warped body image would turn into a compulsion, where once I saw food as a great joy, I now began to see it as an enemy. I have never really had a slim body type. It's more buxom or curvy," Hussey writes. In quote, Sophia Loren, who once said, "Everything you see, I owe to pasta," end quote. Hussey's mother quickly put an end to the pills and specialists, but a seed had been planted for her. With all this attention while filming Romeo and Juliet in the Roman countryside and being looked after by a chaperone, Hussey admits she was budding into a little diva. The once sweet and shy teenager was no more. She became petulant, a brat, opinionated, and quick to judge others, as well as taking no advice. Before filming actually began, Olivia says she felt severe cramping and sudden stabbing pains to her whole body, lightning bolts of pain that had been brought on by stress or too much food. It was something she had experienced before. Olivia was terrified, this far from home and alone. Her makeup was always supernatural. She stated she loved and preferred a look that didn't look too overdone. Her hair has always been dark, sleek, and long. She also had the hippie rock star fashion when she wasn't playing in a movie. Her fan site states her favorite color is being black, although I couldn't find anything with her verifying that, but nonetheless, leave a black heart for her in the comment section. In terms of her childhood, Olivia Hussey was born as Olivia Osuna on April 17, 1951. She was the daughter of an Argentine opera singer named Andres Osuna and a legal secretary from England named Joy Hussey. She was the first child of the couple and had a younger brother. Though her parents were Roman Catholics, they separated when Hussey was just 2 years old, but they never got divorced. Hussey had a keen interest in acting from a very young age, which was evident when she used to dress up and pretend to be a nun as a child. She grew up in a deeply religious household, and her mother was a devout Catholic who instilled a love for God in her daughter. Hussey has often spoken about her mother's influence on her upbringing and how she grew up with a mini altar in her home with a candle always lit on it. Hussey moved to London with her mother and brother when she was 7 years old, where she spent the remainder of her childhood. She auditioned for and was accepted at the Italia Conti Academy Drama School, where she attended for 5 years. As a child, she loved acting and began acting professionally on stage at the age of 13. Apart from acting, Hussey enjoyed a variety of hobbies and activities, such as reading, drawing, and listening to music. She also had a pet cat that she adored and spent time with. Hussey has often spoken about her family's supportive stance towards her acting, and her mother was particularly proud of her daughter's talents. In terms of education, Olivia Hussey attended the prestigious Italia Conti Academy Drama School in London, where but she received formal training in acting and drama. Her talent and passion for the craft were evident from a young age, and she was able to negotiate reduced school fees by showcasing her love for acting. Now, when we get into her career, at the age of 15, Hussey was chosen out of 500 actresses to star as Juliet in Zeffirelli's film version of Romeo and Juliet, opposite 16-year-old Leonard Whiting's Romeo. Her performance won her a special David Di Donatello Award and the Golden Globe Award for New Star of the Year. In an August 2018 interview with Stephanie Nolasco for Fox News to promote the release of her autobiography, Girl on the Balcony, Hussey discussed how she felt at ease on the set when filming the bear scene. She said, and I quote, "We shot it at the end of the film, so by the time we've become one big family. It wasn't that big of a deal, and Leonard wasn't shy at all. In the middle of shooting, I just completely forgot I didn't have clothes on," end quote. In another 2018 interview with Variety, Hussey defended the bear scene, saying, "Nobody my age had done that before," adding that Zeffirelli shot it tastefully. "It was needed for the film. Everyone thinks they were so young, they didn't realize what they were doing, but we were very aware. We both came from drama schools, and when you work, you take your work very seriously," end quote. And in 1971, she appeared in the British drama All the Right Noises, followed by the crime film Summertime Killer and the musical Lost Horizon. In 1974, she played the leading role of Jess Bradford in the Canadian horror film Black Christmas. She also played Mary, the mother of Jesus, in a 1977 television production of Jesus of Nazareth, and that was her second work with director Zeffirelli. And she went on to play so many other roles and have a lot of accreditation to her. Hussey has also worked as a voice actress and was nominated for Outstanding Individual Achievement for Voice Acting by a female performer in an animated television production at the Annie Awards for her work in the DC animated universe as Talia. She voiced the character of Kassan Moore in the PC Nintendo 64 game. She also lent her voice to Star Wars Force Commander in 2000. So Olivia Hussey is famous for playing Juliet in 1968, filed a lawsuit against Paramount Pictures for $500 million for sensual exploitation and fraud. The lawsuit relates to a scene in the film where Hussey was 15 and her co-star Leonard was 16, and their bare bodies were briefly shown during a bedroom scene. The actors stated in their filing that they suffered emotional damage and mental anguish for decades as a result. What's important to understand here is that these types of situations happened all too often in the film industry, and young actors like Hussey and Whiting felt like they had no say and were often subject to directors' wishes. In the case of Romeo and Juliet, the director Franco Zeffirelli promised the young actors that they could wear flesh-colored undergarments in the scene. However, on the day of filming, Zeffirelli changes his mind, telling them that they would wear only body makeup. He then assured them that the camera would be positioned in a way that would not show their bodies. But this turned out to be not the case, right? And obviously, I can't show y'all the scene because of YouTube. But Hussey and Whiting further claims that they were tricked and intimidated, that they consented under duress, and that as a result, they've experienced physical and emotional pain, along with extreme and severe mental anguish and emotional distress. The lawsuit goes on to say that the two have incurred medical expenses for treatments by psychotherapists. They also accuse Paramount of repackaging what is essentially corn and evidence of a crime and reselling that poisonous product for a profit, end quote. It is worth noting that the scene in question took place over 50 years ago, and the fact that Hussey and Whiting feel strongly enough to file a lawsuit now shows how much times have changed. And in the past, young actors felt like they had no voice and couldn't speak up when they were uncomfortable with the scene. But today, actors have more power, they have stronger unions and laws in place to protect them. This case matters because it brings attention to these outdated practices and raises awareness of how young actors were treated in the past. So why did Hussey wait until after Zeffirelli's death to file the lawsuit? Well, there could be a number of reasons. Perhaps she didn't feel ready to speak out until now, or maybe she wanted to avoid any backlash from the director. It's also possible that the passing of time has given her a perspective on what happened and how it affected her. It's not surprising that Hussey and Whiting waited until after Zeffirelli's death to file their suit. Until recently, there was little incentive for stars to speak out or bring legal challenges against the people who exploited them. Many young stars never even imagined that they had such legal options, right? And those who did feared ruining their chances for future work in an industry that often sees them as disposable commodities. Whatever the reason, it's clear that Hussey feels strong enough about this issue to take legal action. But according to Variety, the judge, Allison McKenzie, granted Paramount's motion to throw out the suit, finding that the plaintiffs had not complied with the provisions of a California law that temporarily suspends the statutes of limitation. Paramount sought to dismiss the suit under California's anti-SLAPP statute, which is intended to weed out frivolous lawsuits that suppress free speech. The judge found both that Romeo and Juliet qualifies for First Amendment protection. Solomon Gresson, who represents Hussey and Whiting, said in an interview that he was consulted consulting with appellate lawyers and also plan to file a separate lawsuit in federal court. The bedroom scene includes a lingering shot of Whiting's buttocks and a glimpse of Hussey's chest, bare chest, as she gets out of the bed. Hussey and Whiting submitted declarations to the court on May 11 in which they described their experience during filming. In her declaration, Hussey states that during the scene, Whiting returned to the bed and gets under the covers with me, climbs on top of me, and we acted like we were having, intimacy. Whiting made a similar representation, saying that he got under the covers with plaintiff Hussey, climbed on top of her, and we acted like we were having intimacy. She also faced critics who weren't buying their view on the lawsuit. An article from Datebook written by Mick Lassell broke the criticisms down, and I'm going to read a few of the points he made in his article, and you guys comment below your thoughts. Now, he said, Hussey has spent the last 50 years not just telling the story of how the bare scene came to be shot, but defending it. She has traveled to screenings all over the world, introducing and being feted for a film that she and her lawyer are now calling corn. She has never in that time indicated distress. Hussey adored Zeffirelli, and Hussey spoke of him lovingly for 50 years, such that I strongly suspect that if he was still alive, she wouldn't be doing this. And then also said Whiting also attended Zeffirelli's funeral, end quote. So here's why I don't agree with him. I'm going to show you the clip of them promoting the movie when it first came out, when they were still young.
Did you, there's one of the papers reported that you have a nude scene together after the marriage. Is that true?
Daily sketch today. Yes.
That's true. Did that bother you at all?
Oh, God. I was dreading it from the auditions. I was dreading that scene. They did it gradually, though, and nobody was allowed to watch.
Do you have any feelings about it? I mean,
No,
do you
I
think
think
the scene is improved by it being played in the nude?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look dirty. It looks...
The paper describes it as being chaste, but do you think it helps you to play the scene?
Well, the paper didn't know at the time.
No.
I think, was it Franco that decided first to do it in the bedroom? I think so. Yeah, I think it works better that way.
In other words, whatever inhibitions you either of you might have had about it initially, you think the end result was worth doing it that way?
So as you can see, especially Whiting, he seemed very uncomfortable. That whole interview was uncomfortable. I watched the full thing. It was like 16 minutes. You guys can go see their press conferences for it. They always seemed uncomfortable. They would have glass juices next to them and they just kept drinking, looking away whenever he asks about it. Body language says a lot, right? And watching the interview was just uncomfortable. They seemed like they were anxious, and every time she spoke about it when she was a child, she didn't seem proud of the scene, and especially him. He seemed more uncomfortable with it than she was. And they did date for some time during the movie, but he was very protective during that interview also that I watched of him, where he was kind of like leaning into her, encouraging her, looking at her eyes, like someone that was trying to calm her down because she looked very anxious, and they just kept drinking. At one point, because it was legal for 15-year-olds to smoke in Europe, child cigarettes, she was even smoking cigarettes nervously. Like you could see her hands shaking every time she would take a puff. So I do believe that she was scared of the director. They both were. They were young. Their parents weren't around when they were filming, and it was kind of like, okay, now he's dead, we can finally be free. And even as an adult, she was still speaking highly of him because he did continue to give her work. But you guys know how it is in Hollywood. Like, it's easy to say, if you're not working in the industry, it's easy to say, well, they could have spoke up, forget the money, do this, da da da. But this is how they feed their families. Literally, this is how they feed and provide for themselves. They cannot just quit Hollywood, some of these people, when they have such big fame, and then go work at Walmart. Like, it just won't work. Imagine if Beyonce quit music and then she's at Walmart, or she tries to get a regular job. All of you guys would be storming that Walmart. It don't matter how broke she is. MC Hammer, when he lost all his money, he was still MC Hammer. So he couldn't just casually just walk in public places without attracting a crowd, safety being at risk, etc. These people can just walk away from their lifestyle, so they feel almost like they're slaves to this lifestyle. You have to put yourself in that position. Think of your favorite celebrity, or a celebrity you watch often. Maybe Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Denzel Washington, whatever. Imagine if they started to, hey, I'm going to speak about the industry nonstop, and I know I'm going to get ostracized, I'm going to get canceled, I'm going to lose every money. I probably will have to find work, because a lot of you guys, they made enough money to never work again. No, because I'm telling y'all, these people have a lot of fees to pay. By now, y'all know these celebrities aren't really making money. That's why they're on that hamster wheel, right? Look at the strikes that are happening for the writers and actors right now. So they have publicists to pay, managers to pay, assistants. They have to still have a life where a lot of these people can't even afford to travel without security. They can't afford to travel like us regular folks, right? They have so much debt, and it's really hard to speak out against. So I'm not making excuses for her, because I do get people's arguments like, why did she spend so long talking so good about this director? But you guys, kind of have to see like what would you do in that situation, or even if you say you are strong and you wouldn't, you know, you would stand up for what's right, etc. Kudos to you, but you cannot expect somebody else to have that same level of strength as you. And sometimes victims do feel more comfortable. I know in my personal life, people that aren't celebrities in my regular life that didn't speak up against their grandfathers or their uncles or even aunts that touched them inappropriately until they died. That's when they freely spoke about it, because it just weighed heavy on them and they're free. And people be like, why you waited so long? Or why you did that? Because the fear, that fear is still there, you know? So I don't quite agree with the backlash that they're getting. Comment below your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think, oh, she waited 50 years and she still continued to work with him? They didn't say anything. Why now? Do you think it's a money grab? What do you think? But also you got to see the climate. It is now a lot more popular and even profitable for people to speak about their experiences and do a documentary and expose the industry. And I saw this quote on Twitter that said, until it becomes profitable for people to expose the truth, no one will tell the truth. And it's now becoming profitable. We saw how Sound of Freedom is breaking bank, right? So I believe a lot of celebrities are now seeing, hey, there's money in this, that we can finally speak, even though it's, you know, money grab that they're doing it for, but at least we'll still get to know the truth, because they see, okay, the backlash is not like it was in the 60s or the 50s or the 70s. Like, you can speak now and you'll actually have people rally behind you. Now, in terms of her relationships, she briefly dated Leonard Whiting during 1968. They have remained friends ever since. They're really good friends, and they communicate at least once every 10 days, and they're filing the lawsuit together against Paramount. So there's that. When Olivia Hussey was 18 years old, she allegedly experienced a traumatic incident where Christopher Jones took advantage of her in that way, you know, touched her without her consent in a house previously inhabited by Roman Polanski and his late wife, Sharon Tate, which I did videos for both of them. Hussey had briefly dated Jones prior to the attack when she was 15 in 1968, but ended the relationship due to his physical violence towards her. The actress told People magazine that Jones started taking advantage of her soon after they began dating in the late 1960s, after she played Juliet on the big screen. We were talking and his eyes glazed over and he punched me in the stomach, she said. I was young and I loved him. I was very loyal. She eventually broke up with him and he decided to attack her. She said her ex showed up one night and violently attacked her. I didn't know if he was going to take my life, Hussey said. My face was like a balloon. I had a bloody nose, my lips were split open, and I had a black eye. It was terrifying. Hussey said she found out she was expecting several weeks later but decided to terminate the pregnancy. I decided I could not have the baby. It broke my heart. Although I have never regretted it, she said. The claims are featured in Hussey's new memoir, The Girl on the Balcony. And on her 20th birthday in 1971, Hussey married Dean Paul Martin, who was the son of famous actor Dean Martin. They had one son together named Alexander Gunther Martin, who is now a writer and actor. And although they divorced in 1978, they remained friends. She kind of remained friends with all her lovers except that creep that, you know, took advantage of her. After her divorce from Dean Paul Martin, Hussey went on to marry Japanese singer Akira Fuse, and they had one son named Maximilian Hussey Fuse in 1983. Their marriage lasted from 1980 until the divorce in 1989. And in 1991, Hussey married American musician David Glenn Isley, who is the son of actor Anthony Isley. They have one daughter together named India Isley, born in 1993. And in 2008, Hussey received a diagnosis of breast cancer and underwent a double mastectomy as part of her treatment. And after nearly a decade of remission, Hussey learned in 2018 that the cancer had returned when a small tumor was discovered between her heart and lungs. She opted for radiation and chemotherapy to treat the tumor, acknowledging that these treatments had saved her life. Hussey published her memoir titled The Girl on the Balcony, Olivia Hussey Finds Her Life After Romeo and Juliet on July 31st, 2018. And if you're interested in her story, I encourage you guys to purchase the memoir. It's really interesting. Comment below your thoughts. I'm curious to know. That was a lot, right? But I'm so glad so many more people are speaking out, because this lawsuit was filed in 2023 and it's making a lot of noise, but still not enough people know about it. And it might change the trajectory of a lot of films, how they do young people. But I love you guys so much. If you like the music you're listening to, the link is in the description. Don't forget to leave a black heart in the comment. I love you guys. Until next time.